nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Funny how y'all are calling Americans entitled because we're asking for...
The problem here is that we are trying to have an educated and intellectual conversation with a country whose schools are filled with more bullets than books. So education has never been your priority, and hence why you're spewing so much garbage that you're not...
Now, this person wanted to start out strong, and I don't know who this person is. I just happened to see the video. And this person starts out talking about Americans, they don't value education, and that's why there's so many school shootings. If you look at the demographic who does the school shootings, this has nothing to do with Black Americans. So I don't even know why that specifically was brought up in connection with the situation. And furthermore, to kind of poke fun or talk about how kids have guns, or bringing them into class where they have mental issues and there's other factors at play, and to say, you know, these children get harmed, even adults will have taken out children in school shootings, and to make light of that. There was another foreign woman who was Muslim, but she was not a Black Muslim, who also did the same disgusting thing. So just starting with that lets me know the mentality of this person. And they want to seem educated. They want to seem better than, because they are running away from this stigmatization, which we were told certain things about people in Africa. So the next best thing is to try and punch down what they think is punching down, instead of taking on the actual people who have literally ravished and ruined the whole continent.
Not even trying to learn anything from anyone. I want to hold your hand when I tell you this. America is not the golden standard for the world. The expectation is not that everything that is American is perfect. I know movies and music videos have lied to us. And yes, in Africa, some of us may have believed that America was a great country until we allowed ourselves to interact with you guys on the internet. And then we realized,
To do this back and forth thing is ridiculous. And to sit up here and say, learn something. She's using colorless stigmatization against Black American people, that, you know, you're uneducated, you're unlearned, you don't know anything about the world, and things like that. Very classy, we can see. And to say that America is not the golden standard, that's laughable. People would not be running over here if it wasn't. And a lot of people who like to talk ish about Black Americans, they find themselves here. It's beyond me how someone can come from an island or a foreign land, and they have so much negativity towards Black Americans who allowed them to be able to come here, and then they ish on us and think they're better than. This is insane. But let's continue to watch the delusion.
Spaza shop that thing. Now, let me hold your hand once again and explain something to you. If your identity requires a hyphen in order for you to have an identity, let me give you an example. African American, Black American. I would think that you would then sit down and listen to the people whose identities you have hyphenated together to get your identity. Because if you are calling yourself an African American, I would think that you would want to then listen to Africans when they are teaching you about the culture that you only tap into during holidays when you are going to the motherland.
Personally, I don't call myself an African American. I do call myself a Black American. And then to say something as, oh, you're hyphenated, basically saying you don't know who you are, you don't have your original language, you don't know your original traditions. And then I can be just as petty and say the reason why we don't is because certain tribes there took us and sold us for absolutely nothing. They gained nothing out of it. And then we lost all of that through antebellum chattel slavery. And to make light of that, you know, that's not a good thing to do. Because when you make light of people's suffering and, you know, these atrocities, which I guarantee you this woman would never do that to the Ish people. She'd never do that to any other group of people. But she feels comfortable and safe enough to do this to Black American people. Nobody needs you to hold their hand and educate on the different countries and customs and different tribes. If a person wants to learn about that, they can. I'm not a Pan-African. I'm not any of that.
to be in touch with your roots. We don't have to step in and out during holiday periods within our cultures and our identity.
She's making light and making fun of enslavement. And this is why there is a barrier. Because when you hear this stuff and people do this stuff, and like I said, I'll do the disclaimer again, not all. When people do this stuff, it makes you not even want to engage because you don't want the headache, because you don't have to have this in your life, because this is ultra disrespectful. Because if we did the same thing about colonization, there would be oh, you're xenophobic and you're outrageous and I can't believe you did this.
Because we live them on a daily basis. You need to step and learn from us what Africanacity is, what being an African is. You can't even point out Africa in a map. Some of you in America, majority of you, still think we roam around with lions. Majority of you can't even identify and distinguish between African as a continent and countries in Africa.
This is a lie that people have been spewing for a long time. Now, you can use video clips of people, maybe they were talking about a topic and they got the two conflated. Anybody can do that on a video. Anybody can make a mistake when they're typing out and you have autocorrect and you're basically trying to get your point out, but you may say something that is not exactly what you meant to say. Everyone has done that. But to sit up here and say, because I am Black American, that I don't know the difference between the continent and the multiple countries within, to sit up here and call me uneducated, it's projection. It's no different than what colorless people do.
But here y'all are trying to fight someone who's clearly telling you that in their country, there is a denomination of people called colored people. As a matter of fact, a typical American person, if they were to arrive in South Africa, we would spot them as a colored person until they told us otherwise. And when they do tell us otherwise, do you know what's the difference between my country and yours? We would respect your identity. But nay, you will not do that because you can't even respect the identities of Native Americans. You can't even respect the identities of Americans in your own country. There are trans people whose rights you're trying to take away the identities of women. You're trying to anything and everything that seems to.
What she brought up about the LGBT and women and all of that has nothing to do with Black Americans. Nothing. I'm sorry, Black Americans do not hold positions to affect those groups. Either this situation is sinister or these people who saying they're educated are not. They're uneducated. Because I don't believe, because I've been searching for a video. If someone has it, please send it to me. I always have my email in the description box because I didn't see a video where anybody was saying that this woman shouldn't identify as quote unquote colored, that she should identify as Black. And this is what these people keep repeating over and over. I don't know if it's a language barrier, understanding what it is, but what I heard, what I read, and what I'm looking at is they're trying to be either obtuse or conflate things because it's not making sense. When I first saw her, because I heard that Water song before I even saw her face. So I'm like, okay, it's some new artist, right? I look at her and I'm like, who is this? And why is she doing this type of music? Because when I look at her, I thought she was a darker skinned Indian. I didn't even see her as African or Black. When I see her, I see an Indian woman. That's what I saw. So I had no idea that she was mixed with Black and white and whatever else she's mixed with. But I see Kamala Harris in her. She's just a bit tanner. So I would never call her a Black American. I would never call her Black. Now, there are some people in America, Black people, and especially colorless people, they love dumping their children off and not recognizing their part in their children, their biracial children and mixed children. But I do not consider biracial and mixed people Black. There are some Black people who do. They accept them because they know what it's like to be shunned, so they don't want to do that to another person. And the men especially will accept the women because they sexualize these women, and then you see what they do to Drake. They try and say, he's not like us, even though they have a wife that's just like him. They do that. So she's not Black. She's not African. She is mixed. And that was the whole point. Don't say the word colored when you bring yourself over here to American soil, because that is a derogatory term toward Black Americans. There is a history behind that. There is aggression behind that. If you identify as colored over in South Africa and other different countries, you can identify that. People understand that. But when you are marketing yourself in America, when you come over here, because it is a derogatory term, you have another word that can go in place of that. Mixed. Because that's exactly what it means. I've seen people put in the comment section that it means a mixed person who's mixed with Black, African, white, whatever else is around in South Africa. They're mixed people. So what is the problem with saying mixed, or us saying do not say colored to us because it is disrespectful? Say mixed. Had she been a smart businesswoman and her team had been smart, she would have known not to say that. Because like the lady said in the previous video, you're not going to take your ass over to a conservative country and where the women need to be covered up and they can't show their bodies and all of that. We know the different places where you cannot do that. And then get in trouble and then look stupid as to why you're in trouble. You would not disrespect the laws and customs there. So don't come over here thinking that you're going to disrespect Black Americans and then you want to get Black American dollars. Now, there are rocket raccoons and fools out there that don't care, and they will give you their money. Pander to them. But as far as me, I have respect for myself, and you're not going to sit up here and be saying colored. You're not going to call me colored. You're not going to be saying that in my face. You're disrespectful, and I need you to back up. That was the whole point of it all. Nobody is crying for her to be called Black. Nobody is calling her African or Black. We said cut colored, use it in South Africa, use mixed here. Or biracial if you're biracial. It's not hard. And if you sit up here and say no, that you're going to say it anyway, now I know you're a disrespectful little you know what, and you can get the fuck out my face. But yet you have so much culture and so much class and so much knowledge that you don't have the vocabulary to be able to switch out a word.
Be a little bit of a threat and that does not align with your movie-filled and movie-thrilled world, you'll want to attack. Tyla went to America and became successful. She's not there to take anyone's bread or butter. This is the same thing you're doing with Mexicans by trying to strip them of their power, trying to strip them of their identity and make them identify something that you want. Tyla is colored in South Africa. What you should have done as a person who's hyphenating their identity is then sit down and ask yourself, what are colored people? Where do I fit in when it comes to this? And go and learn about colored people in South Africa. South Africa, which is in Africa, the Africa that you fought for to hyphenate and identify as. But when it comes to us informing you and educating you about our continent, you then want to tell us that we should respect you. Respect you as what?
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. That lets you know, the look on her face, respect what? That's the problem. They are jealous. They have no respect. They have no class. And this educated bullshit is exactly what it is. BS. They were looking for a reason to talk about Black Americans because of their jealousy. And they can continue to be jealous and hateful. Nobody cares. Nobody is going to take the time to learn about something we already know. Colored means mixed. What do we need to learn about that? That's not something that we don't know. We understand that colored means mixed. What we're saying is, and what you don't like is, that we're pushing back and we're demanding our respect by saying, yeah, this is what it means in South Africa, but you don't have your ass in South Africa right now. You're in America, so show some respect. Just like if I went over to South Africa and I heard people saying the word often, I wouldn't be offended because I have enough intelligence to know that they are saying mixed. And nobody is fighting to get over there to several of these countries. Nobody. A lot of people are flooding into America because they want to be over here. I do not see people migrating back in the masses because they came here, it wasn't what it was, and now I'm finna go back. Bulls.
You went and called yourself Shaniqua, Laniqua, and Eloise. and thought you were being African while you were mocking us without even understanding who we are. Your lineage.
Those names don't have ish to do with, oh, it sounds African. That's BS. Because I actually have a friend who had two brothers who actually had African names. So when we do those names, those were unique names that were not colorless people names, because a lot of us had colorless people, and this is extending from chattel slavery. And this just shows me the lack of education that this person has.
And your bloodline is African. And the only people who can call that country America Americans are the endangered Indians that are from there, that you guys have displaced. Americans, all you are doing is that you are colonized and now you are sub-colonizers. You are wanting to replicate the same oppression that white people did unto you to anyone else who identifies as anything that's different.
This was the dumbest take that I heard. And as it goes on, it's just getting more and more embarrassing. How in the world are we in any capacity colonizing anyone? Something, like I said, if it doesn't make sense, if you can't connect the dots, then you know it's BS. This person is just a grade AA hater of Black Americans. And she can continue to do so because nobody cares and everyone sees her for what she is. She wishes she was over here. She wishes that she could do some of the things that we do. She's a hater. It is what it is.
Congratulations, you're Black. But I'm assuming that your Blackness also stems from the motherland that you tap into when you feel like it. And if that is the case, maybe you should sit down, listen, and let's explain to you what Blackness is actually in Africa.
This fool has nothing to teach anyone.
We are tired of this conversation. We are over it. And quite honestly, Tyla, step on the next some more, my baby. Because somehow they think you were only successful when you arrived in America. You were not. And even if they were to kick you out of America, you'd still be successful here in Africa. And that is our conversation, and that is the end. If your identity requires you to hyphenate, listen to the two parties that you've hyphenated with. And so far, there's nothing about you that you can identify without Africa or Americans. And you are neither. Without the two parties. Listen to the two.
And please understand that, yes, this is why I don't identify as an African American, because America is my nationality. It is where I was born. I am several generations deep from here. To set up here and talk about us, seeing how we didn't immigrate. We didn't immigrate here. When we're born, we are citizens, period. And basically, she is so mad, big mad, that she is trying to attack us for not having knowledge or complete knowledge of our history. And like I said, these are the type of people who will make you be like, you know what, I'm good. I don't need any new friends. There is no way in hell that I would ever engage with anybody with this level of disrespect, this level of unintelligence, this level of venom for absolutely nothing, as if we did something to her. And she's defending a mixed race person against actual Black people. You can't make this shit up. She is literally trying to say that almost like they're better, but you're no different than the Black Americans here who play into colorism and they big up mixed race people who have now replaced us within media because they're more palatable to the quote unquote colonizer. You can't make this shit up.
Then come back to us. And Tyla is African. When she's teaching you something, learn. But she's from the roots that you only tap into when you feel like it.
And I can't be nice about this. Like I said, she's not over in South Africa trying to make it big. She's trying to make it big over here in America. A lot of artists come over here and try and make it big, because if you make it big over here, you're set for life. But since all of this has been going on, listen, we can put a return to sender stamp back on her and send her right back to South Africa. You can praise her. You can kiss the ground she walks on. You can celebrate her mixedness over there and scream colored from the rooftops if you want to. Go ahead and do that. Looking like a whole and complete fool. Talking about step on their neck. So she's going to come over here needing our support to make it big here. and she's going to just override Americans. She's over here for American dollars. She's over here in the music industry trying to do big, but she's just going to override all of us. And she's taking up just the history and knowing about the colonization and apartheid. Now this idiot is defending one of their children. Just foolish.
It is crazy seeing people make videos such as these talking about anti-blackness, xenophobia, whilst showing and exhibiting the exact same behaviors they are trying to fight against. There are so many pressing issues that you could be talking about on your podcast, but the first thing that came into your mind was the identity of an African woman who has reached global fame because of her music, which is consumed in America.
See, it's that arrogant BS that I'm talking about of, oh, there's so many things that you could be talking about other than talking about this, thinking that they have some type of power or authority to tell you what to talk about on your platform, what to speak about, how to feel about something, and basically telling you need to shut up and you don't know what you're talking about. It's that same exact thing that's in these colorless people here. I keep seeing it over and over and over, and that's how you know what you're dealing with. And I could have swore that somebody said she's not African, but somebody was saying, no, she's colored. Like, pick one and stick with it, because I know she's African and I know that she's colored, which means mixed. And nobody is enjoying her music except people who are mindless and have no respect for themselves. Because if you had respect for yourself, you would be very picky about the artists that you listen to and their message and things that they've said and the way things come across. And it is true that a lot of people speaking on this is what's going to ruin her career, because to be honest, I'm not hearing her a lot. I mean, just because she make these guest appearances and she has, some concerts, I mean, I see this going the way of Cardi B.
And globally, and you have a gripe with how she identifies, which has nothing to do with you. And yes, I can understand that this specific word within your part of the world was used in a derogatory way, which has historical significance. But that said, you can also understand.
And I wanted to cut it off here, because when somebody says, yes, I understand that word is a derogatory term and the people that it was used against is telling you don't do it. And he said, but. So that means he said, F all that. What I just said, yeah, I understand it, but I don't care, because this is what it means in South Africa. So you should put that above this being offensive to you.
Understand that in another part of the world, that is an identity for people that has existed for hundreds of years. And it's crazy that you would expect them to just forget about their history and their cultural identity.
This is a bunch of BS. And just because he talks nice and calm doesn't make it any less BS, because nobody is saying that she can't identify as this. She goes home to South Africa and she can say that as many times as she wants to. But we're saying, you're not going to say it over here. You're not going to say it to us. You're not going to say it in our face. What you're going to do when you mean that word, you're going to use mixed as to not offend people and disrespect people. You can't sit up here and talk about how intelligent and classy and whatever you are, and then say, I don't care about disrespecting you. Because if you're saying that, then you're trash.
When they step on a plane and fly to America, because yeah, that is entitlement. And the audacity to have so much animosity and energy against a woman that is clearly making music. What's more crazy is a lot of you are attacking another fellow African woman.
And like I said, they never have a good explanation. They can never articulate themselves as to why Black Americans should calm down about the word colored. If we don't like it, if it's disrespectful here and you're here saying it, we have every right to check you and put you in your place. Keep that over there in South Africa, because this is not about education, lack of education, not understanding what the word means, not understanding where it's coming from, because there's a lot of us who know exactly where the F this comes from. This is us saying you're not going to say it and you have a problem with it. So continue to have a problem with it, and you can come get your girl, or we can put her in a crate and send her right back. Your choice.
So I just got done watching this live of this Black British girl talking about how Black Americans, we think that we're superior over all Black people, and that we don't even realize that in their land there's people who came during Windrush, which is when a bunch of Caribbean people came to the UK to work for their oppressor, and that there's people who came during that time who are getting sent back to the Caribbean and that we don't understand our privilege. And it made me realize where all this like online friction between a lot of black British people towards black Americans coming from. It's coming down to jealousy. I try to tell everybody the difference between black British people and black Americans is that black British people have an immigrant story. They have an immigrant background. Whereas in America, black Americans, we're not looked at as foreign. When somebody asks you if you're a black American where you're from and you say Chicago, that person's not black, is gonna say, oh, okay, cool. My cousin's from there, my aunt's from there. But over there in the UK, when they're asked where you're from, they always get hit with, no, where are you really from? Because they're not welcomed in this country that they defend so hard. So again, I put this anger towards jealousy because it's displaced anger. Because once again, the reason why black Americans are looking at black British people crazy about y'all making jokes about running from getting your ass beat over a soccer game and that we don't get your humor is because you'll never see black Americans joking like that. Because if that actually would happen in real life, we pull out folding chairs. We pull out them bows. You know what I'm saying? But this is what happens when you have a lack of community. Instead of coming towards black Americans, you need to build community towards yourselves. But y'all don't have it because, first of all, y'all have y'all own issues, such as Caribbeans versus Africans. I said this all stems down to jealousy because, once again, the one thing traveling overseas I had realized is that black Americans really are the face of black people globally. I mean, in the UK, they just had the Wireless Fest where almost 90% of the acts were from America. Most of the audience were black British people. This comes down to community. See, in America, you can have all these type of black American type of celebrities because we have something called community. In the UK, you have to look a certain type of way if you want to be black and seen out there. You have to be mixed, you might have to be light-skinned, or you have to talk in a certain way that best makes the population of UK comfortable. See, in America, you can have a SZA, a Summer Walker, a Money Long, a Coco Jones, you know, dark-skinned girls who sell music and are out there in the mainstream. But out in the UK, they don't have that because they don't have community. Instead of creating diaspora wars, because that's really what y'all create, put all that energy into fighting back and creating something for yourself in a country where y'all went to, where these are the same people who oppressed you in the first place. No, and that's the thing I have an issue too with black British people is that y'all will say black Americans think they're this, Americans think they're that, they think they're better. How is that when y'all, the first thing y'all love to scream on this app is that, oh, we know where we're from. But once again, because I need to make sure this bubble is broken, if you are a black British Caribbean person or that comes from Caribbean descent, you do not know where you come from. For example, if you're from Jamaica, if that's where your grandparents or your great-grandparents are from, England, they named you who you were. They named what your country is called. They put you on a ship to go work out there and go dig up some sugar cane so they could be rich and live in castles. So how do you know where you come from when people put you on a ship and sent you to a place that you claim you come from? You're not from there. You're from somewhere else. You just don't know where that ship came from.
But I'll go ahead and leave it right here. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one.